almost a year of waiting, people who were rejected for the COVID-19 Social Relief of Distress grant and were later successful may get their money from this week. This follows an announcement by SASSA stating that the process that was preventing reconsideration request payments has been concluded. The agency has been dealing with the reconsideration issue since August last year. For more on this, Paseka Letsatsi, SASSA spokesperson, joins me now. Thank you very much, Paseka, as always, for your time and for helping us clarify these issues for the thousands of people who are very reliant on these grants still. So talk to us about the delays in dealing with those appeals and the reconsiderations. Have those problems now been sorted up and payments fully caught up?
Good evening and thanks for having us, Anli. I think basically we are delighted as the South African Social Security Agency. And the reason is because we have started payments. As we speak with you now, we did about 750,000, but the numbers keep on going up. We are targeted to make sure that by today we have reached 1 million. But we think as we interact with you next week, we would have passed the 1 million target which we set ourselves. But what we can simply say is that we've set ourselves target as well to say by the time we reach September this year, we need to make sure that we start or we do things on a clean slate, in a sense that we don't want as an organization to be dealing with reconsiderations which occurred because of people who were declined last year and so on. We need to make sure that we deal with those who have applied and who have applied in that particular month.
Just to clarify that, so all the reconsideration issues have not yet been dealt with, or have they?
Not all of them. What we could not do, we just didn't want to have a big bang approach. We wanted to make sure that we do it steadily, incrementally so that we do not necessarily have the collapse of the system. But from where we are, we think that we'll definitely make sure that each and every person get what is due to them. Like I'm saying, we had done 750,000. We had set a target of 1 million, but we think by next week, this time around, we would have gone beyond 2 million or so. But we are doing it incrementally because, only I think I can say to you that we don't want to put everybody on the system and the system crashes. And once the system crashes, we would have to come back here to you and apologize for the mishap. So what we took a decision as an organization that we need to make sure that we do the processes thorough, but to make sure that each and every person who was declined and they had a very valid reason that they do not necessarily belong to UIF or they did not benefit from NSFAS, we definitely make sure that they get what is due to them. But we will definitely do beneficial education with you, and we'll do it almost every week so that we update the public about the progress.
So these payments that are currently being made, that 750,000 Rand that you've referred to and the target of R1 million by hopefully next week, those are payments in arrears. When do you expect to be caught up? And these payments for arrears, are they going to overlap with the new payments? Because that 350 Rand Social Relief of Distress grant was reinstated in February this year. So when are the payments for those grants going to kick in?
Let me start by saying this is June. We have targeted to make sure that by September, we do not deal with any backlog. But we are running parallel processes. And we are, as much as we are dealing with the reconsiderations processes, we are also making sure that the processes for the payment is processed as well, so that we do not necessarily continuously have a situation where there's a backlog. So we have targeted that by September, we must not be having any person who would complain that I applied, my application was rejected and so on. But we will definitely make a pronouncement again because we have agreed as management that each and every week we must brief the public in terms of progress. So by next week, we'll be giving the dates in terms of people who have applied, when they will be paid and so on. We will definitely stipulate those particular processes going forward. But we just wanted to make sure that we do not necessarily have a situation where we clog the system and pay those who had been in the system and who were complaining are kept on the system forever. So we have set a target of September to make sure that we clean up the system.
Just To give that figure of R1 million some context, how much money overall is still outstanding for those arrear payments?
Let me say it's not 1 million, right? It's 1 million individuals.
Okay.
The 750,000 is 750,000 individuals. Basically, we can multiply 350 by 750 individuals. Yes, we had targeted 1 million people to have been paid, not 1 million rent. We have 4.2 million people, which we know that they were rejected by the system. And the reason why they were rejected is because they were appearing in other government department or other government agencies. So to cut it short, we did not want people to double dip. And I think as much as I've made that particular explanation, I want to pass this message that people, there are things that they must basically do when they get an SMS. They can go to Checkers, they can go to ShopRite, they can go to Pick and Pay, they can go to Boxer to get their money, or they can go to a bank of their choice. But also we want to appeal to those who have made an application to please give us their banking details because it makes life very easy. But lastly, we also want to appeal to people that when you go and get your money, two things that you must have. One is the ID. Two is the cell phone number which you used to make an application, because there's an OTP which was sent to the cell phone number. So when you get there, they will definitely need that particular information.
Great information for our viewers to have. I have one last question for you. Since the grants were reinstated in February this year, you've had to revise the application processes and the criteria with the vetting. And that means an income or a means test. Tell us about that.
What was the situation that we were using the national state of disaster, but when it got lifted, we had to use the Social Assistance Act. And in this instance, there are certain things which you need to do. You need to make sure that there's compliance. And I think basically you moved from 575 to 350 to make sure that people do not necessarily, we do not necessarily go beyond the budget which was given to the organization. We wanted to make sure that we basically spend based on what was given to us, but because we know that if you spend more, you have done very wrong. And obviously, if you also don't spend what is allocated to you, it's a delayed service delivery. It impacts negative to people. So the intention here by the organization was to make sure that we stick within the mandate, we stick within the budget which was given to the South African Social Security Agency.
Well, thank you very much. And we know that that budget was 44 billion rand. Thank you very much for that update. That's SASSA spokesperson Paseka Letsatsi telling us there that 750,000 grants of 350 rand each have so far been paid out. And the agency is aiming to pay 1 million people by the end or towards next week.